You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide.
Welcome to the Ninon Speaks Internet TV show. Ninon is an international entrepreneur and philanthropist who's become an influential and positive role model for thousands of people all over the world. Drawing on a rich tapestry of experience from her adventures both in front of and behind the camera, Ninon captivates, entertains, and inspires audiences from all walks of life. Her motto is, "Nothing happens without you." Now, here's your host, Ninon de Verde Rosa.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to the world out there. I am Ninon de Verde Rosa with Ninon Speaks. We have an incredible show. We have a gentleman with us today, Dustin Matthews. He's actually in the internet marketing, which I think we're all grasping to understand and know where it's going, how does it work, and most of all, everybody wants to know, how do you make money on the internet? It seems to be the great big sort of question mark of people haven't fathomed out yet how we actually make money there. And there is definitely ways to make money, and we are here to talk with Dustin Matthews. Dustin, how are you?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you so very much for having me on.
Well, absolutely. Well, there's two ways. I mean, obviously, I want you on my show, but also we want to find out what's going on with this internet marketing. You're a motivational speaker. You actually put companies together. You help them. There's a tremendous amount you do out there, which is, in the last few years, has become a very big phase out there of all these quote-unquote motivational speakers, keynote speakers, networking, and all this stuff. And I think this is new to an awful lot of people out there. So maybe you can just clue us in a little bit of what your company is and who you are.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Dustin Matthews, and I have a company called Speaking Empire. And really what we show people do is how to have a platform. And I know a lot of people, especially speakers, understand the word platform, but for the 21st century and beyond, platform is basically how you communicate with the world, just kind of like what we're doing right now. And so there's so many different ways to do that. And so what we do here at Speaking Empire is show people how to convert from the platform, whether that's on stage, webinars, or heck, even through video interviews.
You know what it used to be in London? It used to be on the soapbox.
The soapbox, that's right.
They used to be on the soapbox of the corner of, I don't know, Regent's Park and around that area, and they'd literally have a soapbox, and he or she would, well, mostly he's then, would stand on it, and that was their platform.
Absolutely. We've come a far way from the soapbox. That still can be an effective strategy if you've got traffic, which I'm sure we'll talk about, Ninon. And so, standing on a soapbox, standing on a platform, being in front of a camera, whatever it is, you have to have a platform. Whether you're a thought leader, if you have a charity, if you have a business, everyone needs a platform, a way to communicate with the world to get people into action and inspire them.
And to get people to be interested in you. Now, when you say a platform, we all know what it is, but what exactly is the platform that you would describe for our sort of laymen and people out there that don't quite understand what that platform would be?
Well, I'd like to use your words, and that's like your soapbox, and so it's your absolutely.
It is.
is a perfect analogy. It's your soapbox. So basically, it's your elevation. So whatever you have to stand on to get your message heard, you can sit there and stand, on the ground, but why not stand on something that elevates you? And if we just take that rudimentary concept and apply it, we can do that in so many different ways, like online. And so a platform is basically something that you can build your entire brand. It's something you can build your following around that allows you to amplify. And that's a big word, amplify whatever it is that you want to share with the world.
Yeah, and I think we seem to be having an awful lot to share with the world. When did you first start this, Dustin? When did you first start sort of realizing that you did have the ability and the personality, because it has to have a personality to be out there. You have to be able to laugh and joke and then also be serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Nina, you bring up a great thing, and can I share a story with you? Would that be okay?
Share anything. This is your hour.
You wouldn't believe this, Nina, but you wouldn't believe this, but I just got to share this with you. I'm a self-proclaimed techie, a nerdy guy, and that, that's a cool thing, I guess, nowadays. But, when I got started doing this over 10 years ago, I actually was afraid to talk to people, hated getting in front of groups, hated talking in front of others, in any sort of group. And so I had to train myself. And so I guess I realized quickly, because I got pushed into a crazy environment, basically meaning like I was working with a startup company, and they said, hey, look, one of our guys is out. You've got to get up there and you've got to communicate the message. And I knew right then I had to step out of my comfort zone, and I knew that I had the ability now to communicate with more than just one person, one-to-one, but one-to-many.
But one to many people. Actually, I just want to do a shout out. We are being featured on Blog TV, which is always wonderful. I always thank Blog TV so much, because they always pick my shows up, and it's kind of get chuffed about it. I get excited. And but thank you, Blog TV, for picking us up. There will be no commercials, nothing. We just have a straight, complete hour, Dustin. So we have anything we want. So, it's funny you should say that you were shy and all this stuff, because the same thing happened to me, except I went into modeling, and I was definitely on a platform because I had to walk down this runway. And there's this little skinny 117-pound blonde from sort of Torquay, and I'm sort of, I've got to smile, and I've got to look as if I don't have a care in the world, everything's wonderful. Well, my knees were knocking, and I was petrified, and so I went through the same as you. But to me, it was like a challenge to do something I actually couldn't do and hated. Were you the same way?
It was. I'll tell you, when I got the call. So here's how the story plays out. We'll go deeper with this.
Yeah.
So I was working with my current partner right now, and that's a story in itself. I basically have a partnership in this new company with a guy that I used to work for. And so he calls me up and he says, Dustin, I'm closing on my house and I need you to do the presentation. Now, I was like his sidekick at the time. He was, one of those great communicators, and I was the tech guy, and I put people in the room. I put people in front of him using the computer. So he's like, you got to do it. And so I just remember going home and just getting in the shower, just kind of I didn't know what I was doing at the time, Nina. I was visualizing what was going to happen, but I was so nervous. And I just remember the water just running over me, and I was trying to just calm myself out. Well, I get out of the shower and the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and he says, Dustin, guess what? I got great news. I'm not going to be able to close on my house today, so I'm going to do the presentation. Now, that was good news for me, not so good news for him. So I have this great sigh of relief. I'm excited. I'm like, oh, great, I'm going to go there to support. Well, then the phone rings, and I'm looking at the phone, and I'm thinking, and it's from Dave, and my partner now, and I'm looking at the phone. I'm thinking, I don't know if I should pick this up, because I just had that hunch, that gut feeling, and it was him.
Your conscience was telling you, pick it up. You got to pick it up, because that's the polite thing to do when the phone rings.
Nina, I know you can relate, and I know folks watching it relate as well. Like, you've got your conscience there, and you've got your gut, and you're kind of going back and forth. And I picked the phone up, and he said, hey, I'm closing. You're going to have to do it. And that's when the fear crept back in. But you know what? You hit it on the head, and you said, that was the not just fear, that was the opportunity to step out of my comfort zone. And that's when I realized that's when I grow, and I continually to grow. Sometimes we fight stepping out of the comfort zone, but that's where we grow the most as human beings, as entrepreneurs, as people, as centers of influence, leaders, and so on and so forth. And so,
that's a great thing to teach someone. To don't be afraid. I always think that we're actually all the same in the entire world. We've just sometimes got different color skin. We've got different looks. We've got different religions. We've got different politics, but basically everybody in the entire world is built the same, male and female. We're all the same. So we can all get out there if we want to. It's just having that little nudge. And I think the challenge of doing something in your uncomfort zone and getting them and actually doing it. And when you achieve it, it just blossoms out.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't take that step. I didn't take that action and step out of the comfort zone. I wouldn't have realized that I had a message to share with the world and that people want to hear it. And, if I can affect just one life, I'd like to do a lot more, but if I can affect just one person's life, that's awesome. And, I thrive on that. And that's why I do what I do. I love sharing my message and communicating with others. And I love to hear other people's message. And so, in that way, in which we give, we receive. And that's such a big, valuable lesson.
It is a valuable lesson. Do you think that, because I'm a motivational speaker as well, and I do a lot of stuff out there as well. Do you think that we are capable of being able to listen just as well as others because we do the talking all the time?
That's a great one. I'll be honest. I work with speakers almost every day. We work with them and help them write presentations, write their message. And I'll tell you, there is a part of this that, taps into the ego. And, that's a good and it can be a bad thing as long as we keep it in check. And I say that, speakers, they love to speak and they love to communicate. And so we have to actually try harder if we really want to have self-mastery and want to get the things that we want out of life, to really listen. And so I think it's more of a struggle for us, but nonetheless, those that listen more, get more in life is what I believe.
I believe too. So we kind of end up not really listening as much as we probably should listen, because we are so used to talking. God forbid anybody should interrupt us because we're giving our message out there and we're doing our thing. So I often look at it that way. And I often think to myself, I say, now, Ninon, be quiet, listen to somebody else, give them some time, give them time on the platform as well. And it's come to be very, very difficult. Now, what do you specialize in when you go out there? Do you go to companies or what exactly do you do?
Absolutely. So I'm actually, if you want to think of this, Ninon, I'm the marketing arm of what we do here at Speaking Empire. So I mentioned my partner, Dave. I was working for him early in my career. Then I left to go out and do my own thing. And then we came back together and created the Speaking Empire. And so what folks know us for is working with the world's, top speakers to help them convert from the platform. And the way that they know us is there's no shortage of training out there for sure. And I think this is a valuable lesson for folks that are listening in, watching as well. What we found is there's no shortage of people training how to do something, but there were even fewer actually doing it for them or doing it with them. And so what we came up with is we write people's presentations. They fly down to Tampa, Florida, which I'm communicating.
You're based out. Are you based out of Tampa?
Tampa, Florida. Beautiful weather here, by the way. And so we have people, they fly in, and we actually had a guy from Germany come in and see us, and we wrote his presentation in the personal development realm, and we actually wrote it with him. And so by the end of the day, it's a long day, but by the end of the day, they've got a presentation, they've got a message that they can deliver, and it converts, and people buy their products or their services or coaching and so forth.
Well, now I've got another question for you, because why did he fly in? Did he feel that he could get more out of you one-on-one, face-to-face? Because he could have done the same thing through Skype, on the internet, and done the same thing without moving out of his office. Why do you get many people that do that?
Oh, absolutely. It's our primary way. And there's something special, there's something intangible about meeting face-to-face. Even though we're in the age of technology,
yes,
and that marketing, I'm a firm believer in doing things face-to-face or doing it, sort of the old-fashioned way, especially in today's economy, because I think people need trust more than ever before they'll invest in programs. They need to feel, they need to understand, they need to trust you as an individual, and a lot of that can be accomplished in person. And so we actually, build experiences and recommend that everyone incorporate some sort of experience for their customers and clients. And so he chose to come to Tampa to see us.
Because I think that's a brilliant idea. Personally, I think that's always the face-to-face contact in anything you do, I think is much better, because obviously I'm older and I'm in the old-fashioned way. But to me, it's not old-fashioned. To me, it's the way. What I have done, though, and I'm sure many people out there have done it as well, older people, we've learned, we keep what we've got, and we've learned to actually do it through the internet as well. Whereas the younger generation, are they not all gravitating to the internet more than anywhere else?
Well, I hope to buck those trends. I'm sure you're seeing the baby face, and I'm fairly young, and so I'm old-fashioned too, or I like old-fashioned, and I like you said, I think it's the way. Even though we're going to talk about internet marketing, I'm a big fan of direct mail, getting something physical, tangible, so that people can touch it, read it, take it with them on a plane. You sure as heck put your iPad on, when you're taking off and landing, but a book shuts off. A printed material never shuts off. And I think now more than ever, there's so much communication, which can be valuable, but some people just get overwhelmed. And there's nothing like sitting with a great book or sitting with a printed material, on your sofa or out on your back porch or on the beach, And so I really hope to keep the young generation going for and still staying committed to that. Now, that doesn't mean I use iPad, text messaging, email, that stuff, but I'm a real big fan of the offline as well.
Do you think that's why your business is, I'm not going to say more successful, but you have an extremely successful business. You're very well recommended. You're very high up there. Do you think that's because of the personal touch?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've got to create personal touch. There's a very famous internet marketer. He's one of my mentors, and he says right now he believes it's the hardest time to sell somebody a product or service. However, with that said, it is the easiest time to sell somebody that's already bought from you. And there's a little caveat to that. That means you've got to have a good experience. And so if you have the personal touch, if you have the good experience, people will buy over and over and over again, but you got to do things the right way.
And do you see the younger generation doing that? Because I know that the older generation definitely do that. The older generation definitely stick with, they find something good and they really want it, they'll stick with it. But whereas the younger generation, they're a little bit more, and I don't want to say scattered because it's not scattered, they like to try different things. They like the experience of different things.
I would sum it up this way. I think the savvy ones, the most successful ones, are leveraging all sorts of what we call media, meaning, email marketing, direct mail, I still write handwritten personal thank you notes. And I feel that maybe my generation, or the ones that are even younger, are losing that touch or haven't been brought up.
They're not losing it. They've lost it. It's gone.
They might not ever even know, what a thank you card is, And so, I'm fortunate enough to have grown up with that. So I do agree with you, but I think the savvy ones find a way to do it, to incorporate multimedia and a personal touch.
So now, if we've got this marketing going on, and that you're a sort of guru in this internet marketing, what exactly is somebody? They've got their website, they've got everything going and everything. How do they actually, apart from calling you, how do they get into this marketing, or how do they get into sort of helping increase their business? And they start some things and then they fall flat on their nose, and then they get no business, and they feel that this internet is hopeless. What is the best sort of way for them to to help them?
Well, I believe the best way is to start blogging. So you need a platform. Getting back to platform, I think it can be one of the easiest way for folks to get started. And so this is not a new concept. So I'm not the first guy or gal to preach this concept of blogging. And it can be so easy. I mean, if you can use a Microsoft Word, or you can write a letter on your computer, you can blog. And so you need some way to get your message out. You need a platform. And the blog can be one of the most effective ways. But, I want to give folks this concept. If you generate interest online, I want you to take them. And vice versa. If you generate interest offline, meaning you speak on a stage, you get invited to a chamber of commerce, you get invited to a big place to speak, and you generate interest there, then I want you to take those folks online to your website. That, I believe, is the most powerful way to convert and connect with people, is by changing the media. Meaning, we can sell products and services online, right? But you can be much more powerful if you call them up on the phone and say, hey, thanks for visiting my website. I wanted to talk to you to figure out how I can serve you, how I can build value for you. And so it's my belief that if you generate a lead or interest in one area, you take them through different channels to show them the different communication that you've mastered, that you use, that you leverage.
Absolutely. You use the word serve. And I happened to use this word the other day, but I used it in a different context, which I won't repeat what I did, but it was just something very different. And my philosophy is always to serve people. We are kind of here to serve them, and especially we are in business. Is that such a bad word to use, to serve somebody? I think it's nice, but I don't know.
No, not at all. I think everyone should come from a place of service. And Nina, I want to have a frank conversation with you and with everyone listening in is, in this day and age, people are afraid to sell. Sale is like it's like the new 4-letter word. And really, I think that comes from a lack of a vision. And basically, is if you have a product or service that you believe in so much, you owe it to them to communicate it to the world. Now, that doesn't mean we have to use car salesman tactics or we have to use sleaze, selling or marketing, but you owe it to yourself to communicate that message, come from a place of service and help people, and you just got to communicate the value in such a way that people understand. And I think if people came from that, then selling wouldn't have such a big misnomer or some of the shtick that it has around it.
And it does have around it. It seems that, I think I can understand this a little bit because I see less and less communication one-on-one with people. Even when you go shopping, I happen to be one of these happy people that I'm saying hi and I smile to people. This happens to be me. That's just who I am. And sometimes I don't get smiles back, and sometimes I don't get hellos back, and sometimes I don't get a lot of stuff back. And I look at them and I think, why are they all so angry? But I see a lot of this. I see a lot of people are not communicating with each other. Are they afraid of each other, or they don't? You can't say they don't trust them. They don't know them. But is this thing coming out here where people do not want to communicate?
Well, to your point earlier, which I'm totally gonna key on here because you hit it on the head. I think that the younger generation or the dependence on cell phones and gadgetry has made folks lose, to put it in your words, or it's like eroded in a way.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too controversial here, but I think it has, basically, for lack of a better word, it has eroded people's ability to communicate. So when they become so used to being in the computer, when in front of the screen, I think it takes away from their ability to communicate. And I think it's ironic and funny that here I am, started off as a computer, self-proclaimed techie, nerdy guy, and communicating this, because these are powerful tools, but you have to balance, right? You have to achieve balance in your life, and you have to know what's going to get people into action and ultimately what's going to convert.
Well, you have kind of balanced yourself, actually, out of certain things that came into your life, actually, that you were forced to do. Your best friend asked you to get up there and do something, and I can't say no, so you did. But at the same time, you actually had your head stuck in the computer.
That's right. That's right. And, at the time, like what I was doing with the computer was I was communicating his message through email and mass communication methods, which can be very effective. But the strategy that I really want people to understand here is what I would do is I would send out email blasts. I would send out email communications to get people to come to a seminar to hear him speak. And so basically what I just shared with folks, use email, use an online strategy, but bring them to an offline place. Get in front of people. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to do a webinar. Don't be afraid to shoot a video, because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people, not the corporation, not some website. They want to trust. They're buying you. They're buying us.
Okay, let me ask you a question then, because I get an awful lot of people wanting me to go on these webinars. I get so many of them, and some I go on and some I don't. And some I enjoy, but a majority of them I don't. And the reason being is because you go through like a whole hour of this talking and all this stuff and and they're going on. And then all of a sudden, boom, the punchline at the bottom, it costs this and this and this to sign up. And you've listened to something that you might have been interested, but you're not really ready to sign up on. How does this affect people? Is there a better way of being able to have a webinar without having that punchline of it's going to cost you $500, $1,000, to whatever the case is, that people suddenly sort of back away from, because of the money situation in the last few years has been so bad. But, it's sort of that punchline at the end. You think, it's coming any minute, it's coming, and it's like, you're on. Is there any other way we can change that?
This is a beautiful question. This is a great question. So I want to make sure we answer this one fully. And if you see something and you want to dig further, by all means.
Oh, well, I'll dig in. Don't worry about me. I'll interrupt you.
Really, too, I wanted to put out there. Here's what I believe. I believe you have a relationship with folks. And so a lot of times you'll see marketers, especially online marketers, they're constantly communicating. And some people call this hammering your list. I'm not sure if you've heard that terminology.
I've heard it.
Like every message is a sales message. And so this is not a great strategy. This is a bad strategy. And so you've got to build value. Remember, we talked about service. You've got to serve and you've got to build value. So yes, you can sell products and services and you can make offers, but also you have to communicate and give, and you have to show people and share with them content, things that will buy, things that will help them no matter if they buy or not. So you want to be in a service whether or not they buy. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we see, and this is something big here at Speaking Empire, is we've all been on a webinar or we've all been on a seminar, or you can imagine this, and speaking, they're communicating, they're passionate, and at the end, like you said, they do the punchline where they do their offer and they do this big grandiose offer. What they failed to do was they forgot to let people know right away that something was for offer. And so because people are not stupid, people know when they come on a webinar, when they go to a seminar, folks are going to offer them something. They understand that people have to make money. They understand that there's products and services to be sold. And so the big you can do is just let people know right away. Look, at the end of this call, I'm going to offer you an opportunity. You know, there's a percentage of you that are going to take advantage of it, and I look forward to working with you. And for those of you that don't, I completely understand. I'm going to give you some amazing information that will help you no matter if you buy. And then down the road, perhaps we can do business together. And so just presented that way, you can build relationship and you can leave place in a great, you can leave people in a great place, whether or not they buy your product or service.
Yeah, and I think and it's sort of, I think that's the idea of leaving them in a great place. I think that's what we need, and we don't have that. We don't leave people in a great place. We leave them in a place very frustrated. They don't particularly want to, listen to another one, which they probably will anyway. But they're not comfortable in the way it's handled and the way it's done. So I don't sort of, I just feel that it should be done in a more subtle way, or not even bring a price into it. Just bring maybe contact me at such and such a place, and leave that out, just to change things up a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, I'll share two strategies I want to communicate right now. And one of them is what we call an application style presentation. So someone comes on, they deliver great content, they deliver great value, and they just basically present an opportunity to work with me. And so all you have to do is just go to this webpage and fill out your information, and we'll connect on the phone to figure out how we best can work together. And so you don't have to give price. That way you can actually be flexible, because Ninon, you hit it on the head. If they don't have the money to invest, let's say you're selling $1,000 thing, if they don't have the money to invest, it's either a yes or no, it's either a yes or no decision. Yes, I'm going to buy. No, I'm not. But if you get on the phone with folks and say, hey, let's figure out how we can work together. Well, if they can't afford your phone, they can't afford the $1,000 program as you're discovering on the phone, then you can say, look, annuity program, I'd love to stay in touch with you, and I know that you want to get access to this information. How can I enroll you into my $39 membership? So it gives you flexibility. It's not hard, and it really gives them an opportunity to invest in whatever level that they want with you.
Yeah, and it's funny you should say that, because there was a company, I forget the company's name, and even if I wouldn't mention it at the moment, but there's a company that they wanted to present me with something. I think it was $500. And I said, well, I don't even know your company. I don't know anything about it. And we were talking, and I was trying to be polite. And then they said, well, we have another program. And I thought, oh, here we go. So they had another program for $99. So what did I do? I joined the $99 program, because it wasn't really the money side of it. It was more of, what is this program? What is this they're doing, and how are they doing? I'm not going to invest all this money, $500 or $1,000. I'd much rather just invest something small. And I think that is something much easier for people to do, and they should have programs like that. Do you have any programs like that? How does your program work when people want to get involved with you?
Sure thing, absolutely. I'll start off by saying, we come from the seminar space, and we're, even though I have a great background in internet marketing, there's nothing like putting on an event and meeting people face to face and seeing the change happen right in front of you. I mean, that's one of the best ways to see things taking action and changing people's lives. And so we're heavy, what I say, marketing-wise, on getting people to come to our events and then sitting down with them with a team of coaches, a team of consultants that we bring in. And heck, I do it as well. I meet with as many people as I can at the events, and we figure out what works best for them.
So you have a built-in house where you can actually probably approach any situation. I mean, whatever anybody comes into, like say somebody says they've got a great product, but they're going to sell it just for a couple of dollars, and how would they do it? Would they go onto eBay, or would they go on Hair or Craigslist, or what would you sort of, would you say anything like that to them?
If they were, somebody wants to sell a product or service?
Yes. Yeah.
So the answer is there's a lot of platforms to sell it. My favorite way is building a list, right? So back to the word platform is building your following. And you can do that on Facebook. You can do that on, on all different social media platforms. But one of my most favorite ways is I have a website online where people can find out more information about us. And so on the website, nothing new, just a place where someone can put their email address. And there's power in having that person's email address as long as you build that relationship and don't just treat it like another name. If you treat that like a relationship, you can following and have people buy from you over and over again. And so one of my most favorite things is to build a list of folks that want to follow me. And if at some point they don't want to follow me, we give them that opportunity. Again, no hard pressure, just trying to build a relationship with people online. And so my most recommended way is to build that email list, because when you have a new product or service, you can then launch that to your list and tell people about it.
Absolutely. So it's really building up like anything. It's like anything. You build your list up, you build your people up, you build your friendships up, and it's actually, it's really for the very beginning, it's communication. You must communicate with your friends, with your people, with your customers, and that actually happens to be the old way. The old way of doing business was stay friendly with your friends and stay friendly with your customers. And, it's like, I remember this was just a few weeks ago. I was, a friend of mine wanted an engagement ring, so I told them, I said, well, why don't you go to this friend of mine? So then I called the friend of mine who sells jewelry, and I said, take care of him. He said, Ninon, I'm going to give him the least price I can give him. And I said, why? He said, I want him as a customer, not just one time. And I thought that was very sort of, he's not going to sort of suck him. Most people want to do that. They want to give the highest price, and they're not really concerned about, whether they come back or not. But he was an older person. He said, I want to make sure that he comes back.
Absolutely. I mean, now more than ever. I mean, here's the thing. So many people are focused on, how do I get the next customer? How do I get the next customer? Well, if we divert some of that attention and focus on how do you serve your current customers, how do you back to them, ask them, hey, what do you need? And either assemble it or go find somebody that's built that product that's reputable and introduce them to that. You can make money over and over. You can provide value and get paid for doing that. But like you said, Ninon, so many people are focused on the what or
the quick buck. The quick buck. They want that quick buck, that quick money. They don't care. They don't build up their reputation.
That's right. That's right. And so that's something, it's not, I'm not saying that it's easy, and I don't want people to think, oh, this is some push button thing. I mean, building a reputation, just like, as Ninon, you make mistakes along the way, and you go forward, you move from that, and I'm always constantly thinking about it. So, there's decisions that you have to make, and they'll tell you, they'll let you know. And then, you can even apologize. Like, I recently sent out an email blast where I said, hey, look, I've lost touch with you. I've lost communication. Our company's growing. We started hiring copywriters, people that actually write in my tonality. And so, like, I was just feeling bad about that. Like, it wasn't personally coming from me, but I was still communicating through, copywriters. And I just said, whoops, hey, look, I screwed up. I feel like, I'm a business owner. I'm trying to scale this thing, but at the same time, I want to remain a relationship, create that relationship, maintain it with you. And
absolutely.
So,
mm-hmm.
So
but also it's sort of, it's back to sort of taking care of whom you are. Now, I know that you and I probably both have to be very careful in the public eye, because we are in the public eye, and there's things that we can do and things we can't do. We can't be seen in certain places, and we can't do certain things. Do you find that?
No, I do, but here's my guilty admission or damaging platform is so very important. There's so many there's no shortage of things we can do to send a message out and communicate with the world. But one of the things that I think I've recognized, and I'm fortunate. I don't think the young generation has realized this, is you don't have to be on Facebook all day. You don't have to tweet everything that you do. And so I actually don't leverage those as much as I should. And that can be a good thing, because I want to tweet what I'm eating, or I might tweet something that I don't want to do. And so there has to be that balance of communicating, but exclusivity as well. And so I think that you shouldn't try to be in front of everybody all times of the day. I mean, that can be a strategy. I think you have to have that exclusivity, and I believe it helps you. And you're spot.
It does help you tremendously, and at the same time, I've noticed there's been an awful lot. We're advertising for Facebook, so but Facebook, a lot of people go to Facebook and put everything in there. That's not wise, is it?
I don't think so. If you're engaging with people at the ultimate level, it can be a great strategy. But again, if you're on Facebook 24/7, you're not out connecting. And I think you need a balance. I think you need a couple things. One, I think you need to speak from the platform. I think you need to do webinars. I think you need to do interviews. I think you need to have a book. So you want to leverage all these different strategies to build your platform, especially if you want to scale it and really get your message out there. Sure, you can be a Facebook or YouTube star, but that's only one channel. Imagine if you had a bunch of different channels communicating with people. That's much more powerful, I believe.
You know what I have noticed? I've noticed this on, there used to be like 3 or 4 places you could go to, but now there's an awful lot of places that you can really get your name on. Are they good, bad, right or wrong, or as many as you want?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I believe you should be in as many places as you can. I don't think it should be you personally, every single place. That's why I believe you need a platform. You need a place to bring them back. And so if you have a Facebook channel, if you have Twitter, if you have even seminars, you want to direct them back to your platform, your home base of communication. And that might be doing blog posts or sending emails to them. But you need a central place to bring people back to in the way that's most effective and works for you.
Absolutely. And then, of course, I want to talk about when you go into a room sometimes and you're talking, it's got down here that you have 2,000 people in a room. That's an awful lot of people, and just little old you up there on your platform doing your thing. How scary is that for you, or are you just come on with plenty of energy?
Well, it's all in framing. I think anything in life is how you look at it and the words you say and the framing. And so some people call it nervousness. Some people call it excitement. Some people call it jitters. So I choose to call it excitement. So right before I get up on a stage, and I've done tons of talks, I've done lots of webinars, I've done a lot, right? But there's always that excitement. And it's funny because I remember a story about Bruce Springsteen, and he said something very similar. He's been performing for years and years and years, right? And so he said the same thing. It was, I feel that rush. I feel that energy just pulse through my body. And so it's all, some call that jitters, but he chooses to call it that rush, that energy that pulsates right before he gets on stage and gives a performance. And so the words are powerful, and it's how you frame it.
And you're absolutely right, because I'm an actress and I've done a lot of work, and you can't help but you sort of get this energy comes up, and you sort of you get sort of, I'm not saying nervous, because as long as you know your lines, but they say use it, so you use it. And when you start using it, you forget about being nervous, and you're out there and you're laughing. And a lot of people, which have, as a new thing come out, is that you have to be like a comedian as well when you're out there speaking. You've got to throw out a couple of jokes and ease it up a little bit. Is that a good thing?
Nina, I think you hit something. You actually made me realize something here, and it just realized it in a second. And it's this. It used to be like, in 2008, maybe 2007, when you're speaking, the polished person was the rock star. It was almost like perfection. Everyone was just, into having the perfect speech or the perfect look. And I think now, I think the tides are shifting. I think people want to, or actually I know people want to know that you're real. And so almost if you're polished, that can actually work against you today. And so you've got to, throw jokes in there, make fun of yourself a little bit, laugh at yourself, not make fun of yourself, but laugh at yourself and show them that you're a human person, and you can and awe, because people want to connect. They want to know that you're real. And I don't think they're looking for perfection. They're looking for connection nowadays.
I agree with that, because I don't think there's any perfection out there anyway, because I don't think that the parents now are teaching the children the way I was taught, and then the way you were taught. And it's different. You know, I always think it's like a 5 or 10 year span, how it kind of shifts all the time, and it does. It shifts a lot. And the parents aren't teaching them the way I was taught, and sort of, you know, which is, I happen to like it because I like change, so I see change. What do you see in the future for yourself, of where you're going and what you're doing?
Well, excitement. Change is like inevitable, and people have to embrace that and understand the technology is going to change around you. Everything's going to change around you. But the thing that I'm looking at right now, and I'm starting to realize that everything comes in a cycle. At least, you know, at this age of my life, and like, so everything's a cycle. So what's old is new, and what's new is old, and so there are core fundamental principles at the end of the day. If you understand that and you know how to communicate, no matter what the platform is, no matter what the delivery is, you'll be able to change lives or spread your message or sell your products and services. And so what I see for the future is a lot of really cool, exciting, fun technology. However, I see people losing sight of what's real and what works. And so the old school, I think, reigns king in the future.
Really? That's interesting. So we're not dead yet. We're still very, very much alive. Now, you have written a book here. It's called How to Get Rich Working for Free. Back to free again. I love that. An online marketing secret revealed. Tell me a little bit about this book, and why did you write letting people know that you can get rich doing things for free?
Okay, now this is going to be beautiful, especially for folks that are looking and they're finding their way out there in the world. When I was getting started, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Are you familiar with that book?
I'm very familiar with it. Yes.
So I read this book, and right out of school, and I got real excited about real estate. Now hang with me. This isn't a real estate lecture here. I got estate. So I went down to a club where people would trade real estate, they would sell real estate, they would learn about real estate investing. And in that moment, I found that if I could go connect with the center of influence, they would be able to show me a whole lot quicker than if I stumbled at it myself. And so what I did is I asked Dave, who is my current partner now, if he would teach me how to buy a house, and in exchange, I would come work for free. Now, you should have seen the look on his face when I said, I want to come work for you for free, because no one had ever asked him that. People had asked him for jobs, at his company. People had asked to work with him, but no one had done it in the way that I had done it, which was ask him to come do it for free, because I recognized in that moment it was the value of the information that was in my life. It wasn't trying to make $8 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it was. It was the knowledge I was looking for. And Ninon, along the way, that's when I found out that marketing became my passion. It wasn't real estate. And I think that's like life. And I'm sure that's the story of your life. You start thinking,
yeah, definitely. I was in real estate. You and I are much the same. I'm just, you're following my footsteps, actually. I have two things here. Someone is saying here, there is no such thing as free. It is an illusion.
There's no such thing as free. Well, it's an
illusion.
It is it can be an illusion. So I'm trying to apply that statement to me. I mean, I was investing. So I invested my time, right? Because I didn't have any money to give Dave. I could have signed up for a real estate program, but I didn't have it at the time. I was just getting started. So I made the investment in myself. I made the investment in Dave by giving him my time. So nothing is free. There is investment. There is exchange of value. It's just looking at what that value is. Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? So I get that statement, but I just want to have people cautioned against that statement as well.
Yes, which is also, it says free can get very expensive.
That's for darn sure. If you don't have, if you don't you want to go, you can go down a lot of rabbit trails.
You can, a lot of rabbit trails. Then it says, why do you call it, it says, do not call it free. And I guess the reasoning why they're saying that is because you have given your time is money, so therefore it's not free. How do you answer that one?
And I would answer it this way. One of my most favorite marketing lessons is I have a newsletter that goes out. It's an offline newsletter, not an online. It's going back to the old school. It's an offline newsletter that arrives in people's homes and offices once a month. And it's a free newsletter. But I price on the newsletter, because if I put free on it or if I didn't put a price, people don't value it if they don't know what the material is yet. So one of my favorite things to do is on things that we give away for free, I always give it a value. Things I give away online, it's never free. It's a $199 value, or it's a $97 value, or whatever the value is at no charge to you. So it's all about the words. It's all about how we frame things. And so I believe you should put value on things and never say the word free, but you should use at no additional cost to you, at no charge to you.
Okay, another one. It says free has backfired on the entire internet marketing industry. Has it backfired? Because you can only do so much for free.
Right. I love these are hard-nosed questions. So
no, somebody hard-nosed is sending them over here.
I think free has its place, meaning like free is one of those powerful words that when you're trying to get someone's attention, and if we're trying to get someone's attention, you put the word free out there, it gets them to stop for a split second. It doesn't mean they're sold. And it can be a bad stop for a second, but at least they stop and they investigate. Do I want to pursue this? Now, whoever sent that over, the person that sent that over, the reason why is a lot of people are overusing free. So when people are overusing something, you need to do something different. However, if they've never been an internet marketer or been in this world or been to, an opt-in squeeze page, the first time they see that, it's still going to work. So that's my rebuttal to that.
So good for you. But I mean, everybody wants something for free, as we use the word very freely. Maybe we shouldn't use that word so freely. Maybe you shouldn't use free, because when you think of, and I do the same thing, because I have a Ninon Speaks Media Image coaching, and I will give them, like 10, 15 minutes of free course, just to explain to them what it's all about. Well, when I say free, that's free to them, but not to me, because that's my time.
That's right. That's right. Ninon, I want to go back to something you had mentioned. You'd asked me why I had written that book. Well, I wrote to give me credibility, and I know we could have a whole call and talk on credibility, but especially with the baby face here. Imagine me 8, 9 years ago. I mean, I probably looked like I was 5, and so I wrote that book to have people take me seriously. But I want to inject something else here too. That book, not only did I work for free for Dave, and now I'm his 50-50 business partner in this business, what it's done is that book that I've given out, and I've given it to people at seminars, it has got me Imran, Brian, so it's got 4 or 5 people to come work for free for me. Now, I've also realized, though, it also trains people to expect to get something for free, or that, like, I'm going to work for free for them. So it is a double-edged sword, but I want people to think that, a tool can be very, very powerful. So free, yes, it can be bad, but it also can be good. You got to have the balance.
Well, you're going to like this one then. I got one right here for you. It says free equals manipulation. I like that. It can do.
Free equals manipulation. You want me to answer that one?
Of course.
Okay. So free manipulation. I mean, you could say that about everything. Everything that's written on a piece of paper, everything that's meant to influence and connect with free, you could say that. So doesn't have a dim view of the world, but it's just all it is a tactic. It's a trick. It's the intent. So if you're using free, if you're using any other tactic that has a negative tone or has a tone at all, and your intent is bad, then that tactic is bad. If your intent is good and you want to communicate and get people into action, then the intent is good. The tactic is good. That's my belief.
Absolutely, and that is actually, which is always understood, it's the way you say it and how you say it is how it is perceived.
I 100% so it's all about intent, and I want people to know that. It's when you come from that place of serving. We talked about this earlier, and gosh, you might be saying, gosh, this guy Dustin sounds like a broken record. And there's a couple universal things in life that, bear repeating, and I want people to understand it. When you come up from a place of service, things can open up for you, and you don't have to do things that you don't want to do. Just serve, do what you know to do, and help people, and you'll get what you'll want. Zig Ziglar taught me that.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that because I happen to be one of these people. I like to help people, and I truly I just enjoy it, which means I'm giving them my time for free, but I never look at it like that as being for free. I look at it as something that satisfies me. I'm happy with it, and hopefully it'll help them on their road with it. So I don't think there's anything wrong in serving somebody, whomever that may be, and giving something for free, if that's what you want to call it. I just think it's sort of, you get a connection in this world, and even if it's given for free, you get a satisfaction out of doing that for somebody. So it's not really free.
Well, yeah. I didn't think about it on it. It's self-serving, if you get a high off of it, you're serving yourself. But the thing that I was thinking about originally is when I was working for Dave at the other company, I did a lot of stuff for free for folks at the time. Well, now fast forward, 5, 6, 7 years, those folks that I was working with before have now become our clients. And so, I invested at the time. Heck, I didn't know be partners. I didn't even know I was going to be doing this and communicating in the world, but I invested it in time, and then it came back. I wasn't
You didn't. Well, that's because you did not do it for a reason. You did it because you just wanted to do it, and you were doing your work, and you were doing your whatever you needed to do, and you weren't thinking, oh, down the line they're going to help me, and down the line I hope they're going to help me, and down the line da 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 da. And you just did it from your heart, and that's where I come from an awful lot. And I just wish actually more people would come from there. And I have to mention something. I go to church, one of the churches I go to, and after the service, I guess 9:30 service, they serve a free lunch. Believe me, free. They got pancakes and this and that. I've never seen so many people, and I look at it and I think, are they coming to church, the service, or are they coming to church to have a free lunch? You tell me. And I asked the pastor, I said, why do you do this? He said, I do it for fellowship.
I mean, that's powerful. And someone might look at the intent. I mean, it goes back to the intent there. So you might say, oh, the pastor's trying to trick them to come to church. You could see it that way, or you could see him as he's serving, or she's serving and wants to spread the message and wants to get the word out there. And if by all means they have to give free food to do it, then that's fine. So it's all intent.
Yeah. And he is doing it for fellowship, for people. He said, I want people to talk to each other. I want people to engage in each other. There's another thing here. What are they saying here? Everything we do has to move energy both ways. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Einstein. Whatever pushes back. There's an equal and opposite force. So it kind of relates to that. And I a lot of the spiritual, but I'm a spiritual person. I believe that it's an exchange of energy. Value is just a form of energy if you want to think about it that way. And so we exchange that energy, and sometimes it's an exchange where you don't know, you pay it forward and you don't know where it's going to come. Just because you do something here doesn't mean it's going to come back here. It could come back from this angle, or it could come back, in a couple of years back to you. So I'm a big believer of energy, and that it spreads and goes around, and it comes from different angles, ones you don't even would consider. So that's and I hope people enjoy that one.
I hope they do too. But also, now when you go into a room, and I've been told this, and I'm going to find out how true this is. When you go into a room and you've got, say, 2,000 people there that you're now going to address, I've been told that, however size the room is, you only really have 20% that like you, and the others are just sort of sitting there or whatever they're doing. But you only have an audience of like 20% that are liking you. How true is that?
Well, Ninon, you could say 80-20 rule. So that applies, that's Paretos Principle. So anything in life is 80-20, right? So, 20% of your customers give you 80% of your income, 20% of the tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis get you 80% of your results, and it works in the inverse too. So I thought about it that way, and it's kind of a little intimidating to think it that way, but I have thought about it this way. If you're a great presenter, if you are, one of the world's leading presenters from the stage, and you offer a product or service during your talk or your presentation, sometimes you can get up to 50%. It just depends on how qualified the room is. 50% close rate, meaning 50% will buy your products or services. But if you average your speaking out over your career or over the year, a general person will close 20 to 30% of the room. So if you think about on average over a couple talks. If you think about that, you're leaving 70 to 80% of the people that aren't buying your product or service. So you could say that 80% aren't don't like you, but it's just timing. It's a matter of time. They might not buy now, but they will buy later. And so just remember, if you're there to serve and you're there to change someone's life, you never know what's going to happen from that. That next person might put you on a stage in 10 years in front of 5,000 people because they were sitting in your seminar.
And you're so right. So I think the message that I got out of there, which I really, really like, is don't feel negative or don't feel bad if not everybody is concentrating, if everybody doesn't buy your product. I don't think it really kind of matters. It matters that you continue with that energy and that fullness that you want to get out there and just put it out there. And I've always said that key into 2 or 3 people in the audience, one at the left and one in the middle and one at the right, that you know like you because they're looking at you, they're smiling at you. Concentrate on those 3 areas of the room. You're home free. Whether the rest like you or not, it doesn't matter. But when you know you've got people that are, they're looking at, they're conversing with you in the silent way and they're agreeing with what you're saying and they're kind of nodding, that's a good idea, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I was just going to add in on that. You're spot on about that. I want people to get off the stage. So not a lot of people talk about this, but get off the stage, connect with people, because the thing is, if the platform is a good place to be, it gives you credibility. But if you're there at the whole time, you're at this level. You got to come down and be with the people. Get off the stage, connect.
Get with their level, into their level.
Right, and they'll feel that energy shift.
Absolutely. We're getting very close to the end of our time. Any information you'd like to give out there of how people can reach you and where they can get hold of you, Dustin?
Yeah, absolutely. Folks can find out if they loved the information. We only touched on it just a little bit here, but there is a formula for speaking. There is a formula for creating a message. And if folks would like to get that information for free, it's available right on our website at speakingempire.com, speakingempire.com. And yes, we do pick and we do talk to folks. If they want to call us, they can find the phone number on the website, or I'll just give it out now. It's 1-800-687-4061. And when you go to the website, be sure to opt in because I've got awesome, valuable gifts for you to help you get clear on your message and get people into action, whatever it is that you do. Okay,
that sounds wonderful. And so do you have a trial period for any of your courses or something you give away for free? If somebody calls you and they want to sort of find out a little bit more, and is there anything you send them or give them, or you send them to the website?
Absolutely. We've made it easy. I'm very visual, and I expect you. And actually, a lot of the population is visual. And so we actually have a blueprint, a speaking/messaging blueprint. When they go to the website, speakingempire.com, when you opt in there, I'm going to send you a blueprint that shows you how you can put together any message, no matter if you're personal development, if you're real estate, no matter what you do, if you have a charity, no matter what it is, we have a 12-step messaging blueprint that will help you get clear on your message, whether or not you buy a product or service from us.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because I think, people I'm going back to that free thing again, but it's not really free. Somebody had to put it together. Somebody had to do it. But it's like a marketing tool. I think that's what you would call that. It's not a free tool. It's a marketing tool. Am I right?
That's right. And folks, even though it's free, they have to invest their time to go through the material. And so it's, we could say it's not free to them either. It's an investment. And you have to use that word investment, because it's very powerful. It's a very powerful framing word. So we always invest our time, money, and resources.
That's a great closing message on that. We're going to have to close the show. The hour has come. Ninon Speaks has had an incredible time with Dustin Matthews. Very, very enlightening as to what's going on in there in the media, in the motivational speaking, into media marketing, in all of it. Thank you so much, Dustin, and I hope we'll have you back on again.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, and thank you to our audience, and thank you for Blog TV. We'll see you soon.
Watch the Maxed Out Money Hour Internet TV show program All About Money with your hosts Ninon and Coach Steve every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central at realcoachingradio.net.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org.
You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com.